Over the past few days, we have told you about almost a dozen school threats, some of them credible, some not. All have affected local students in some way, though. There were two more security alerts today, one at Tyee High School, another at Central Kitsap Middle School. We got a letter from a concerned parent asking, how should she reassure her child?
For some answers on that and other parental advice, we turn now to best-selling author Dr. Greg Jantz. You know, kids are worried. What do we tell them?
Kids are worried, and it's age appropriate what we tell them. For example, our younger ones are going to be careful about how much we're talking about it, so don't use this as the dinner time discussion. Young kids, we want to ask them, what did you hear at school? Or is there anything unusual going on at school? When we use the term bomb scare for younger kids, it's going to have a whole different meaning than an older kid.
So that brings up the question, do I wait for my kid to come home and say that his friends were talking about this, or do I just go on and talk about the subject first?
Well, first I'm going to test the waters, David. I'm going to ask them, have you guys been talking about anything in the news at school? See what's being talked about. And we know that there's a lot of side chatter in social media, and some of the young kids are also affected by that.
So if you do test the waters, and you mentioned be age appropriate, I'd like to go through a few scenarios, and
you got it.
You help us decide what we say to our kids.
Okay.
So let's say I test the waters, and my 5-year-old is concerned about safety at school. What do I tell a 5-year-old about this?
Well, you always tell the 5-year-old or the age appropriate that they're in, we're going to take extra precautions, and it's like if I take your temperature, I want to find out if you're okay. The school's going to do things to make sure that you are okay and that you are safe. So use an analogy that's going to make sense to them.
Should you reassure as well? Let me tell you, you're safe at school.
Absolutely, and I'm always going to take that young boy, that young daughter, and I'm going to touch them on the shoulder, and I'm going to give them reassurance. They're going to have a need for more physical comfort as well as emotional comfort, but let them talk about what concerns them.
What about a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old?
A little bit older, a little bit different, because they're going to be probably having conversations even in social media about this. And, you know, I've heard older kids say, you know, ISIS wants to take over the world. And they're having conversations around that. So it's already a topic.
So, you know, there are a lot of channels that go on ad nauseum about this. We take a measured approach here. We talk about the important things, but don't spend a whole hour doing it. Do we let our kids watch the news?
I'm going to limit the news. I'm going to talk about things that are in the news, but I'm not going to keep it on all the time. And I'm not going to make it look like that's the most important thing to me. If they're just seeing that I'm pulled in by this, if that's the discussion they're hearing me have with other adults, they're going to absorb that. So be aware and be careful about that. But remember, they do have a need for safety and for comfort and for reassurance.
What if you hear them bringing up conversations at school where some kids are accusing other kids of being terrorists or something like that? We've heard stories like that.
We have, and sometimes there's some bias that are with other kids. We need to be careful about that. Well, one of the things I'm going to let them know is there any kid that you're really concerned about? Sometimes kids start acting out. They start writing things on bathroom walls. Remember, for kids, some kids who are in more of a bully, they may be doing things that are more about power and drawing attention. They want to feel powerful. So there's going to be some threats that are really more about a kid's need to assert themselves.
And remember, you know your kids best, so watch their body language, have those conversations, test the waters, and don't hesitate if you needed to say something or jump in.
That's right.
All right. Dr. Greg Jantz, always good to see you. Thanks.